Hello everybody, welcome back for another video. Hope you're all doing well and that you're all having a great day. We have a lot to cover. I'm actually surprised at how much there is. First up, researchers at Northwestern University concluded that Bitcoin's lack of scalability comes from its complete decentralization, suggesting that a compromise is necessary to achieve mass adoption. Research from Northwestern University suggests that there must be some kind of compromise between central banks and Bitcoin's ecosystem. The proof of work protocol currently present in the cryptocurrency's consensus model is serving as an obstacle to adoption because of the low transaction volume, according to the university. They said, when you look at two networks like Bitcoin and a central bank, one is centralized and one is not, obviously. If we want Bitcoin to scale, we have to compromise, which means we need to get some level of centralization, end quote. This was said by Sarit Markovich, clinical associate professor of strategy at Kellogg School of Management at Northwestern University. We have already seen slightly more centralized models in other cryptocurrencies, such as EOS, where block validators are chosen by votes as opposed to hundreds of thousands of computers engaging in mining at one time. In collaboration with BlowX Route Labs, and not how to say that, Northwestern University is reportedly developing a platform that could help resolve what BlowX Route calls a scalability bottleneck caused by the sheer amount of work that goes into processing one single block on the chain. Their solution aims to increase block sizes while at the same time reducing the amount of time that it takes to process transactions. We don't have any details on how this new blockchain will work, but Markovich insists that it already scales 100 times better than Bitcoin. We're hoping for 1,000, he said. Despite the excitement of the researchers, the news is not encouraging since it proposes more centralization of a cryptocurrency ecosystem from the get-go. It would essentially strip cryptocurrencies of the motivation that inspired people to adopt them the last 9 years. This is a very important, weird topic, and I'll kind of give you a bit of backdrop if I can. This is going to not be a very much Bitcoin-centric video, but there's a lot of it that falls on the neck of Bitcoin. So I told you guys before, and I hope that at least some of you read and found the information about it. It comes to why we have had forks, at least the first couple of forks, and where kind of Bitcoin is now. It pretty much comes down to we know for a fact that Bitcoin can be upgraded, but the fact that the developers are not upgrading it is kind of an issue. And due to this entire thing, if Bitcoin is to succeed in the long run, I told you guys before, we're going to enter a period where people are going to become very upset that, or they already are upset, and this is why we have so many exchanges are kind of changing places and adding different fiat pairs and base pairs to their websites, what have you. What's going to end up happening is that Bitcoin is going to be the #1 for some time, but if it does not upgrade, it's going to fall back very quickly, and it's actually going to surprise a lot of people. But this should not surprise any of you, because especially since last year and even beginning of this year, Bitcoin needs to not have the possibility of having $20 transaction fees or $5. It should be a couple of cents. There are a lot of side chain solutions going on, but one of the issues is, and I'm glad I found this. This was actually from quite some time ago. This was actually said by Vitalik Buterin, and it kind of gives you a bit of a backdrop as to why the argument of centralization is there. I know the word scares a lot of people. A lot of people don't care for it. But apparently this is why a lot of things have taken so long, because it's apparently incredibly difficult to do. He said, Vitalik said this, and I quote, he said, "Why is scalability so hard? I often think about this scalability trilemma. Where I see the blockchain systems, I have to trade off between difficult properties, and it's very hard for them to have three things at the same time, where one of them is decentralization, the other is scalability, and the third is security." This was, end quote, whatever this was said by Buterin. Pretty much it comes down to, if you have a centralized network, you can have as much security as you want because you control the entire thing. If you also have a centralized network, you can have as much scalability as possible because you aren't reliant on hundreds of thousands of other computers. This is why coins like EOS or even XRP have some type of consensus model where it's 21 people or networks or whatever you want to call them, entities, who are helping things on the network. Because when you have too many, it's kind of like if you spread yourself too thin, and then imagine you're making a pancake and you pour too much batter, and there's so much batter you try to flip it, it goes all over the place. But if you have smaller pancakes, they're easier to flip. I guess I'm hungry. I don't know why I'm saying pancakes. The point is, you kind of get the idea, and it's very, very difficult to be able to actually do all of this. If everything is completely decentralized, you can have a higher level of security, but the scalability just won't be there because you need everything on the network to kind of hop to it at the exact same time. This is why last summer, yeah, it was over a year by now, where we had the entire thing with SegWit 2x, and people on the network had to first upgrade or click yes. Remember, I don't know how many of you were here last year, before we had Bitcoin Cash and before the fork happened and we had the entire SegWit argument. One of the things that happened was when SegWit finally got activated on the network, it was then a requirement of every other computer, every other system, every other network around the world to know that this upgrade had happened, and then to upgrade their systems in order to be able to kind of push it all through. So you kind of get the idea of why this is very difficult. There are tons of side chains that are actually being built for Bitcoin exclusively. I am very interested to see in the next 2 or 3 years exactly what Bitcoin is going to look like. I think it's going to kind of look like a chimera almost, where we have so many other things flowing to the side of it and next to it and in between it and also through it, I don't think Bitcoin, I think we're at a major crossroads right now where Bitcoin is exactly like Ethereum. Lightning Network is already active, but it isn't expected to be fully implemented until the next around 2 years. And even then, there are a lot of other upgrades because Lightning still isn't perfect. We had news it had to be about 9 months ago at this point, where people were streaming out FUD, and I told you guys it was true. If you just look for the information, people were using the Lightning Network, even though apparently they weren't supposed to, even though it was active, and people were actually losing their Bitcoin on the Lightning Network. Apparently maybe never to be seen again, but it happened more than once, which is one time too many, and a lot of people got really scared about the entire thing about it. So I'm going to touch a bit more into this, and this is why I said the news today is very interesting. I'm going to touch a bit more into this as we go further into the video, because this is going to come to a head very, very soon. But I mean, realistically, I have a strange feeling, if all the news that we've had, all the news that I've been reading, all the news that you've heard or seen or watched or whatever the case might be, there's so many people who are heavily into Bitcoin, and I mean like really big players. I am almost certain that they're talking with the people who are developing Bitcoin and telling them to kind of get a move on or just update something really quick, because 3 to 5 transactions per second and you're still the #1 coin, and you don't really have a major not an ICO platform, but like a platform where other people can build coins on top of you. That's a bit much, especially when people are there are a lot of companies around the world right now, not even just China that we spoke about yesterday, or even Weiss Ratings, where they're actually mathematically working out how much each blockchain should be worth. And this is why they keep ranking some higher than others, and Bitcoin keeps coming in between the 10th to 17th space. It's kind of, we live in an odd space where a coin, as beloved as it may be, that doesn't really do much or isn't as fast or doesn't have the same exact tech that other coins have on it, is still #1. And yeah, so anyway, that is the beginning of the entire information about the centralization of Bitcoin, or what needs to happen, or what I'm pretty sure is actually eventually going to happen to Bitcoin. Next up, Spencer Bogart, who is a partner at Blockchain Capital, and Hunter Horsley, who is the CEO of Bitwise Asset Management, recently spoke to Bloomberg about the current state of the cryptocurrency market and surrounding speculations. They also discussed the overall future vision for cryptocurrencies. This comes after a slight rally in the price of Bitcoin, and other cryptocurrencies saw a hike in price after consistent bear attacks the previous week. Horsley said about this, stating, and I quote, "I think prior to this week we saw a huge drawdown, and I think there was an overreaction to the procedural extension of the Van Eck ETF filing, and also think the rejection of the Winklevoss filing. I think personal investors and traders think that the market corrected too far," end quote. We spoke about that 1,500 times. The fact that the market went down by 20% that day is, I don't know what people were thinking. I don't know if they thought that a rejection of an ETF was the actual end of Bitcoin, as in, Bitcoin's future and soul rested on that, but what have you. The United States Securities and Exchange Commission, or the SEC, is currently in the process of approving an exchange-traded fund proposed by Van Eck with Bitcoin as the underlying commodity. However, a proposal from the Winklevoss twins was already rejected, with the SEC quoting reasons of an unregulated market that is prone to manipulation. Bogart gave his opinion on this, stating, and I quote, he said, "As far as the SEC goes, I think they're running out of reasons to disapprove some of these things. One of these surveillance sharing type arguments in the underlying surveillance of some of these crypto spot markets is going away because some of the biggest exchanges like Gemini and Coinbase have set up surveillance sharing type things that should appease the SEC. For those who did not see the other video, not even on the rejection of it, when it comes down to the SEC, or the Securities and Exchange Commission, in the United States, they keep rejecting things that have to do with cryptocurrencies, not even just ETFs or futures from other companies. And their argument constantly is that there is not enough security, there's not enough custody, the market is very prone to manipulation, and every single time that they state one thing, someone then changes their proposed ETF that they have sent to the SEC, they rewrite it, they change it so that it's better, and it has what the SEC said that they needed last time. But over the past 4 years, they keep making excuses, and this is why he says, I think they're running out of reasons to disapprove some of these things. Because you can only lie for so long. At this point, you know, it doesn't take 4 years to approve something. It takes more or less 2. But this comes down to the fear from the United States government that the moment that they approve one ETF, then the second ETF is going to have to be approved. And ETF is, it has been spoken about as if it is the master door that everyone is going to walk through. Once an ETF is approved, the same with the futures that we had last year, it is expected that major players, or even smaller players, which will also have a major part in bringing the value of the market cap a lot of these coins into the high billions, simply because there will be a lot of people who have not only hedge funds but also retirement funds who will also start buying tons of cryptocurrency, because this will give it validity in the space. Even as the SEC delays the approval of an ETF, there are many products that have already found their way into the market through overseas offering. This also includes the ETN that was recently approved for trading in the United States. He also spoke about the early stages of the market, where he stated, when Facebook reported earnings a few weeks ago, there was $120 billion of value erased in after-hours trading alone. All of Bitcoin today is worth $113 billion. So if Bitcoin went to $0 today, it would be a smaller loss than what Facebook had. Not going to really get into the... I'm not going to scroll down to the rest of it. There's a lot of people want to get into the market. I don't think I don't think we get exactly how many people are trying to get into the market. This 80% has been said before, and not even just by these people. There's a reason why I told you guys before, and we read before, why there's so many banks and institutions who said for the last 2 years their clients keep messaging them and emailing them and sending them requests. Are you offering Bitcoin? Can I buy Ethereum through you? Where can I buy Ripple? And when you get these comments and these statements and these emails, you start to wonder, one, is there something to this? And also, how can I profit from it? Because the moment you say, or someone asks you, do you have this object that I'm looking to buy? I'm looking to spend money, potentially $100,000. Can you offer it? And they say, no, maybe in about a year. They're going to take that money, go somewhere else, probably to Gemini or Coinbase, and then give them their money instead. So this is why we're seeing such a hubbub, if you will, around all of this. I've said this before. I don't want to rush time. I don't want to age rapidly just to see what the future of cryptocurrencies will be, but I'm very interested to see what the future holds, especially even let's go to like November or something like that. I want to see if what happens when this, or should this ETF get approved. How many more people are going to get into the cryptocurrency space? It's estimated that there's like hundreds of billions of dollars just in money that could flow in from institutions just who are trying to be able to hold cryptocurrencies for their just retirement funds, which is going to be kind of crazy. I think I want to say let's give it 4 years, 4 or 5 years. It needs to be completely solidified. The cryptocurrency space needs to be something meteoric from where it is right now. And we're going to start to see a lot of people's pensions probably also holding a small amount of cryptocurrencies, which would be kind of crazy to think of your parents having a retirement fund and their personal retirement fund holds about 1/100th of a Bitcoin or something like that. That's going to be actually kind of insane to think about. Didn't mean to spend an enormous amount of time on this, but there are people waiting on the sidelines, and I wonder exactly what they're waiting for. But when that money comes, I'm trying not to hype it up too much, but it's going to be something really, really ridiculous. So for those who don't know, I told you guys before, everyone in crypto, not me and you guys more or less, face-wise, like I haven't shaken your hand, but the people who develop these coins kind of all know each other. If they didn't go to the same schools, they kind of worked for the same companies at some point. At some point, they all either were trying to develop on Bitcoin, they decided to branch off and create their own coins, or they worked in Google or Amazon or whatever the case might be. For some reason, for those who don't know, Vitalik Buterin is not a man of few words. When something bothers Vitalik, he kind of lets loose. 2 days ago, he went on Twitter where he was, he pretty much wrote a 75 tweet where he was talking about Casper and how great it is and exactly what it is. But for some reason, the last week as well, he and the creator of Cardano, Hoskinson, something, I can't remember his first name, don't hate me. They've been in an argument, an open argument, and gonna kind of give you a little bit of a backdrop to it. The altercation between Ethereum's co-founder Vitalik Buterin and Cardano's Charles Hoskinson, there we go, has been going on for quite some time now. The rebuttal took off after Buterin accused Cardano's Ouroboros protocol last month. On the 16th of August, Buterin responded to Hoskinson's latest rebuttal, confirming that the debate is still on. Buterin responded to two main points made by Charles Hoskinson in his previous rebuttal mentioned below. They said, or rather he said, synchronous protocols are typified by a round base structure and explicit hard-coded upper bound on network delay. Such a protocol cannot tolerate that any single honest player suddenly experiences network delays beyond the hard-coded bound. While Buterin agrees to Hoskinson's first point, he disagrees with the second one. He said, in a 50% fault-tolerant asynchronous, or rather synchronous protocol, if 20% of nodes start to experience delays, then you will have 30% fault tolerance. Buterin also questions Hoskinson if he meant the following. He said if honest player H gets a high network delay, H themselves cannot get a reliable view of the consensus anymore. Buterin further argues that this is definitely true for a 99% fault-tolerant type of algorithms, though not true for the 50% fault-tolerant type, including chain-based POS or proof of stake, even a simple overlay where at the end of each round, each active participant publishes what they think the result of the consensus is, and everyone adopts the majority result. For those who are confused, you can raise your hands. What it comes down to is they are arguing whose update is better. To put it completely simply, in a blog post entitled, How Does Casper Compare with Ouroboros? IOHK Chief Scientist Aggelos Kayais went over some of the main differences between the incoming Ethereum update of Casper and Cardano's own consensus algorithm called Ouroboros. The article, billed as a response to recent discussions on social media, hosts the argument that Cardano's Ouroboros version of proof of stake is superior to Casper's proof of stake implementation. In the post, Kayla argued that a proof of stake system needs to have at least two attributes: persistence and liveliness. Persistence is what makes transactions permanent, and liveliness is what makes sure that every node in the network gets the same information and remains synchronized. Cardano's chief scientist Kayais then said that Cardano's proof-of-stake protocol is superior because it provides mathematically precise purity guarantees satisfied by any execution, and that it allows precise quantitative statements about stake bounds and settlement times. In other words, IOHK and Hoskinson believe that all claims made about Ouroboros are entirely concrete, and there is nothing left to interpretation. Ouroboros is fully defined and unambiguous, as Casper still leaves a lot to the imagination as to how it will work on a highly technical level. Casper is the long story short, What Bitcoin does is called proof of work, in that you have tons of miners who are working on it in order to create new coins. With proof of stake, it's pretty much like you don't really need the miners and you kind of do it on your computer itself. All the work that is done through the thousands of other computers is kind of done through not simple mathematics at all. Cardano's main thing is that they have run on the back of mathematics, which is great because math does not lie, for those who do not know. So their entire claim is that, and I've read this before when I first started looking into Cardano, is that they say Cardano is foolproof in that it works on the basis of provable mathematics. Therefore, they can prove without a shadow of a doubt that 1 + 1 is 2, and that whatever numbers that they have flowing through their systems are also correct, and therefore their proof of stake will be better than Casper. And this might also be why Vitalik went through 75 tweets explaining exactly what Casper was. And I think exactly when that happened as well, we had a bit of an uptick in the price of Ethereum. Long story short, this is going to go on for quite some time. I think Hoskinson is doing what he's doing, even the people behind Cardano, because it's expected that Cardano is supposed to launch within the next 2 or 3 months. It's supposed to happen sometime within Q3, if I'm not mistaken, of 2018. That's this year. And we still have no official date and or time of Casper, but Vitalik said that it's coming soon. So if Ouroboros happens and it works and they're actually able to do 5,000, 10,000, 15,000 transactions per second and their proof of stake work, there are a lot of other proof of stake coins out there. These aren't the only ones. There are a lot of other smaller coins. You can find a lot of them even in the and maybe some of the top, let's say 50 or 100 coins. There are other proof of stake workings out there, but a lot of them, sometimes they're faulty. Sometimes people don't receive their stake that they should have gotten from their proof of stake mining, if you will. So the argument is that one is better than the other. And like I always say, time will tell. I love Ethereum. I think it's great, but same as Bitcoin, we're getting to that point where in 2015, 2016, where we didn't have a lot of coins, and you could say that your coin did this, or there was so much talk about 2019 and 2018 and 2020, as opposed to upgrades, and we're going to have this. And, you know, in 2015, this sounds great. This sounds wonderful. You can't wait to do that. This is why there's so much bullish activity, because everyone is waiting. You know, we're going to get there. The price is going to go completely insane when this gets activated. But when you're in 2018 and it doesn't get activated, and you have 5 other coins who are claiming that they can do exactly what you can do, but better, and it's proven by math, how much of an upset would it be for Cardano to have only come out last year and for its proof of stake to actually work, and then for them to take over Ethereum in the top spot? It also makes me think, this is why we've seen so much. I have a feeling, don't quote me on this, I have a feeling that a lot of the other coins that have, the other people who have been talking negatively about Ethereum over the last couple of weeks have probably gotten into EOS, I want to say Cardano, maybe Stellar, and also Tron when they were less than pennies. And I think this could be a lot of the reason why we're seeing a lot of hate around it, because other people have really filled their coffers with all these other coins. Because it just seems kind of weird. I'm not saying that Hoskinson, well, I mean, you know, realistically, I told you guys before, it's expected that crypto is going to be a multi-trillion-dollar market. So even between possible old friends, I don't think people would mince words, especially if they can become the first trillion-dollar crypto company. Anyway, that is kind of the, if you were wondering exactly what's been going on, or why Vitalik has been not going on a rant, but been talking so much about it, and why there's such, I think even, I'm not sure if there's a Cardano YouTube channel. I'm really not sure. But I know there's been a lot of like updates from Hoskinson the last couple of days. He said that he was going to announce something on this day, and then he did it like 3 days later. I think there's a lot of hype coming up. There could be even an announcement that they plan on fully implementing or launching Cardano in the next couple of weeks. We will see. We're getting close to the edge right now. Next up, Coinbase is in the news. The largest US-based cryptocurrency exchange has made another move towards providing a secure environment for digital currency trading. In a filing issued on the 14th of August, the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office has granted protection for a secure Bitcoin payment system to Coinbase. The system itself paves the way for users to pay directly with Bitcoin through their wallet without having to worry about the security of their private key. The patent also identifies the issues which are currently preventing this from happening. They said it may be a security concern for users that the private keys of their Bitcoin addresses may be stolen from their wallets. Existing systems do not provide a solution for maintaining security over private keys while still allowing the users to check out on a merchant page and make payments using their wallets. What the patent protects is a system which is intended to set up a key ceremony application which creates bundles for custodians that are individually encrypted with passphrases. Every single bundle will have a master key share. Those shares are combined in order to store an operational master key, which on its part is used to encrypt the private key during the checkout process described above. Coinbase is trying to make sure that they remain in the #1 spot. This is not the first time that we've had news about them trying to get a patent pushed through or something directly in their name or trying to secure something. We also had news a couple of months ago that they were trying to get the licenses that would technically make them a bank. I wouldn't be shocked. And I imagine a world like this where in 3 years we have Coinbase banks wherein you can kind of just walk in. They're all around the world, maybe on a street corner somewhere, and you can kind of withdraw or have your crypto or whatever the case might be. Coinbase is definitely trying to, I don't know what their ultimate goal is, but they're not trying to go anywhere anytime soon. They've been doing so much. They received so much funding. I think they have to be worth at least $1 billion by this point, even just from what they make from trading fees and all these other things on their platform and buying and et cetera, et cetera. I think we're going to, if they're not usurped within the next 2 years by some other company, Coinbase is going to definitely be a bank. And they're going to start having news about them. You know, they're already having news that they are expanding around the world. And I think they're trying to do something in the UK, if I'm not mistaken. I'm pretty sure they're also going to try to go to mainland Europe as well. And when we have final news that this is all actually happening, I'm pretty sure we're going to start to hear that Coinbase is opening up smaller locations and it'll actually act as some type of a bank, which will, it's fantastic for them. It's also fantastic for crypto because it'll spread adoption, but it'll also mean that we are in a we're in the future and there are then crypto banks and all these other types of things. Last up, here we go. So the debate between Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash and Bitcoin Gold and all these other things is never going to stop. I think Bitcoin has to hit $1 million and Bitcoin Cash has to lower in price or hit like $1 in order for this argument to kind of end. But even further onto this, there are now internal arguments and all these other things that are happening. An intramural debate among Bitcoin Cash developers about the future of the Bitcoin Cash protocol is heating up, with a development group backed by InChain and Craig Wright vowing to create a new full node client that does not include the so-called unnecessary changes being added to Bitcoin ABC, the most powerful node on the Bitcoin Cash client. Dubbed Bitcoin SV, a not-so-subtle acronym for Satoshi Vision, the software, in InChain's words, is designed to provide a clear Bitcoin Cash implementation choice for miners who support Bitcoin's original vision over implementation that seeks to make unnecessary changes to the original Bitcoin protocol. The company says that Bitcoin Satoshi Vision will double down even further on Bitcoin Cash's commitment to on-chain scaling as opposed to the second layer scaling that through technologies such as Plasma and the Lightning Network, by raising the block size limit to 128 MB from the current 32 MB. This is what I was talking about before, just to lightly touch on it. I mentioned it in this video and also the other video. A lot of people think that Bitcoin is just slow and that it can't be updated. Bitcoin can be updated, and I'm going to get into a bit of why it's not being updated. For reference, the mass majority of recent Bitcoin Cash blocks mined over the past several days have been smaller than 100 KB, or less than 1/3 of 1% of the current limit. Additionally, the first release of Bitcoin Satoshi Vision will restore 4 Satoshi opcodes, scripting operations that had originally been included in Bitcoin but were disabled in later software updates. These codes are, not going to read that. Additionally, Bitcoin Satoshi Vision will remove the limit of 201 opcodes per individual script. For those who don't know, and I'll give you, sit back and relax, because I hope this doesn't go on for hours. No, it won't go on for hours. When Bitcoin was first created, you can find all the information online. I'm just going to tell you because I have read through it multiple times, and I like to not read the story because it's not a fairy tale. Anyway, the point is, when Bitcoin was first created and Satoshi, the person who they think is Satoshi, made it, there were a lot of faults in it. He gave the code or access to the code to about 2 different people when it was first created, and he told them to look over it, and they found faults in the code. They helped them fix it. They used it for a couple of days. They found that there were other problems when they were actually trying to mine Bitcoin. On the same exact time, I think this was when I think you were getting like 50 Bitcoin per block or something like that, and there was no one else on the network. So I think the first person who ever had was actually mining. I think he was getting 50 Bitcoin per hour or something like that. I think eventually he had like 10,000 after a couple of days. When these other people started to help Satoshi with the code, at some point, Bitcoin became bigger and bigger. Bitcoin became kind of like an internet phenomenon where people were really talking about it. But then that's when Silk Road dropped. Silk Road being the illegal website where people can sell illegal things. And when this happened, there were actually a lot of discussions in the community about how the future of Bitcoin should be. Satoshi said he didn't want any intervention at all. He said he wanted Bitcoin to remain amongst the community, amongst all the same people, and that we should have control over everything. At the exact same time when Silk Road was happening, there was a meeting that was going to take place between the FBI, and I can't remember his name for the life of me. It's not Craig Wright. I can't remember the person's name anymore. There was a meeting between the FBI, members of the FBI, and also this person, the second person who had ever touched Bitcoin's code. And Satoshi said he did not believe in this. He said, I do not want you talking to them because you are letting them kind of like in on our secrets and stuff like that. And then after this shortly happened, Satoshi kind of disappeared from the forums online. And this is the point where no one had ever heard from him again. And this is where the hunt for Satoshi kind of happened. Moving forward a tiny bit, since we've had all of these forks, or the reason that we have all of these forks is that a number of people, a huge number of people have claimed that they had met Satoshi, or they had contact with Satoshi, or that they knew Satoshi himself. At some point they hung out and they did stuff together. They skipped down the street, whatever you want to say. So this is why we have all of these different forks and these other things, and why we have so many other coins of people saying, even one of the main people who worked on Bitcoin, he's developing his own other coin. And I spoke about it before. I think it has like 5 million circulating supply, and every single coin was like $800 or $900. It was completely overvalued. His idea was as well. He said, I also knew Satoshi. I also knew what he wanted, and this coin is exactly what he wanted because this is what the Bitcoin code should be. So this is what it says when some of the code was removed. At some point throughout the entire thing, throughout this entire fiasco, this is why I said the main vision of Bitcoin is completely gone. If you have any gripes about that, or you think I'm incorrect, Bitcoin is, we have Bitcoin mutual funds, stocks, bonds, ETFs, ETMs, futures. Bitcoin is now, whether you want to believe it or not, the bankster coin, and it's just not even a matter of speculation or FUD. It's literally what it is. As this has all gone on, the code for Bitcoin has been changed, and it's been changed for a reason. It's because the people who are creating or developing the Lightning Network, the name is Blockstream. You can check this and look it up. It's all on the internet. They more or less own or are controlling the code of Bitcoin. They decide, along with other people, but Blockstream being the main totem pole, if you want to call it, they decide exactly what happens on the Bitcoin code. They decide for upgrades or to not upgrade. And this is one of the reasons why we have Lightning. Lightning is being developed, or has been developed, because the people behind Lightning were looking for a way to make money from the Bitcoin code. They said that the entire reason that we have Bitcoin are going to have Liquid and a bunch of other side chains and other proposals and stuff like that and new nodes is because Bitcoin mining itself is great to make money, but when you upgrade Bitcoin so much that the transaction fees are non-existent, i.e. if you have $20 transaction fees on a Bitcoin transaction, and on the other side, if you had updated it and you could have 1 cent transaction fees, there's not really a huge incentive for people who are mining. So on the same exact thing, they said, we're not going to update Bitcoin. And this is why there's been such a huge outrage or uproar through the entire thing. And they said, we're going to instead create Lightning, because Lightning, you'll be able to actually make money from it. This is why we have all these other coins, and this is why we have all these other arguments, because all these people are coming forward. No one knows for sure who anyone knows. It's very easy to say that you had contact with Satoshi. A lot of other people, I don't think he was posting on Reddit. I can't remember exactly where Satoshi was originally posting. You can actually still find his original post, which is actually really crazy. If you go to Google and you type in like Satoshi Bitcoin, and then do like, you know, you can change the dates on the top. It says like from what date to what date. Do like November 2008 to around March 2009. That should be like a good time frame from when he first started posting. You can find his original post, and you can see the discussions that people were having, and that he was trying to tell people about this new thing, and people thought he was completely crazy. And then 1 or 2 people started catching on, and then eventually we have this entire world that we have right now. So this is kind of the argument. There are a lot of people who still believe or say that they know Satoshi on the entire Blockstream thing, and the entire reason why this argument is never going to end. I'm expecting more forks. I don't expect more dominant forks, i.e. Bitcoin Cash, Bitcoin Gold, Bitcoin Diamond, just because the people know the name. The reason for, like I said, Lightning is to kind of make money, and this is against Satoshi's vision. The people who know exactly what's going on with Blockstream and the Bitcoin blockchain, that is the top coin that we have right now, not to be confused with any other hard fork that has come out, they all say that this is completely wrong. The entire vision for Satoshi, if you read through all the old forums, find as much information as you possibly can, Satoshi said he wanted the entire network to be free. He said he had invented something that would be completely free. There would never be any fees. I think at some point there was like a 1 cent fee, and he tried to also fix that. But at a certain point, I think when so it comes down to, he left the project when Bitcoin's price was around, I think, anywhere from $1 to $10. And he decided that everyone on the forum was just concerned with the price of Bitcoin and not even the technology anymore. And this is kind of, at some point, Bitcoin has become warped to kind of where it is now. Like I said, this isn't FUD. This can all be checked. The internet exists because we have the technology, and we can look back in the past and we can see everything that's going on. One of the other things that has bothered me about Lightning, people were asking me before why I didn't like Lightning, is because you can actually sell Lightning nodes. Blockstream, you can find this online as well. Blockstream sells Lightning nodes because in order to use the Lightning network, you have to pre-fund a node. That's one of these little glowing things right here. You have to pre-fund them with Bitcoin that you already have. The more Bitcoin that you have, the more transactions that you are able to process. The more transactions that you're able to process, the higher or more money that you get from sending money through the network. So on the same exact side of you being able to mine Bitcoin on your thousands of computers that you may have, you can also buy nodes. And what's happening is right now is that we have a lot of banks who are buying nodes, because the banks can simply buy 10,000 Bitcoin, load up their Lightning node with 10,000 Bitcoin, and then have a large number of transactions simply flowing through them so that they make the most money from it. So this is kind of the more or less the news, if you will. Like I said, always do your own research. You can definitely find a lot about this. This is not going to end anytime soon. I don't know, what's his name? Roger Ver. Roger Ver said last year that this year, Bitcoin Cash would be the #1 coin. He said it's going to happen in an instant. It's going to scare a lot of people, and no one's going to really know what's going to happen. I don't think Bitcoin Cash will ever become the #1 coin, just because I think there's too much negativity around it. I think Roger Ver is a very outspoken human being, and I think that puts a lot of people off. I don't know. I don't know. I think Bitcoin Cash would definitely be around for a long time. I don't know if it's going to, I don't know. I don't foresee a future where Bitcoin Cash has suddenly died. There are a lot of people who still think at some point that Bitcoin, the top coin that we have right now, is just going to gobble up the smaller coins, and they're all going to kind of die. But as of now, we have a situation where a lot of the top coins, there was an article that I don't have on here as well because it's far too many tabs. where they were talking about, I think it's something like, what is it, 60 or 70% of the coins on the top 100 don't have a working product or haven't even been activated. And I think another like 40 or 50% haven't been updated. This goes along with Bitcoin, not Bitcoin Cash so much. We're entering a point where you have to do something to your code. You have to update. You have to do a lot of things. If Bitcoin is going to continue having 3 to 5 transactions per second, if Lightning is going to take a very long time for it to be fully implemented and for them to officially have a complete working product, I don't know. And not to be a downer towards the end of the video, it's just to, all this news is out there, and like I always say, I said this many months before, I can't always just read the good news. Anything that has to do with coins that you may hold, or especially even the major coins, you have to know about them. You have to understand if there is a problem with what you are holding. If you read some type of bad news, it is up to you to ascertain if you want to keep your money in that project. That's not me telling you to sell or buy anything, but you know, you always need to, like I always say, read between the lines, kind of understand what's going on. For what it's worth, my personal opinion, I don't think Bitcoin or Ethereum are going anywhere. I don't think they will ever really die. Do I think at some point some type of flippening will take place? Probably. Do I think that Bitcoin will probably fall in price? That's also probably. If we get to the September timeframe and a number of other coins start launching and or activating, or if Vitalik decides to surprise us with Casper, then yeah, it's probably going to happen. I think that's everything that I pretty much had to say for this video. There was just so much going on. I'm pretty sure I even missed a couple of points. Point is, the future is relatively bright for cryptocurrencies if you look through the clouds. A lot of stuff is going on. Satoshi's vision is definitely not there anymore. I really wonder, a lot of people have come forward saying that they are actually Satoshi. I think like 6 people have done so far. I wonder who he actually is. When you read around and the people have been, they've been looking through his like style of writing and stuff like that, and I think they figured out that the way that he actually speaks, they actually think he's English. Like he's actually from the UK, because he says the word bloody a lot, and they like, okay, no one from California is saying that. And even his speech patterns, people have put all of this stuff through computers. They said there's no way that someone who is from Japan, if they were actually from Japan, they wouldn't be able to speak this way or have this like type of, not intonation, but the speech patterns. Or maybe it's just simply someone who is from Japan who then moved to London when he was very young, and who knows exactly what it is, who knows exactly who this person is. But Bitcoin is very different from what it was supposed to have been. It's all completely changed. And this is, I don't know, it's just kind of where we are now. All right, everyone. That is definitely going to do it for this video. I hope you guys and gals enjoyed. Hope you're all having a great day, morning, afternoon, and or evening. Hope you guys are enjoying your weekend. Thank you once again for all the support, and thank you once again for watching and or listening. There's a lot of stuff always happening in the cryptocurrency space. I maybe have said this a couple times before. If there's a topic that you want covered, as long as it's not anything too crazy. Someone was asking me before, like, to prove mathematically something was happening and all this other, and I'm like, I can't do that. But if you have something that's been on your mind, or you are wondering about a certain coin versus another coin, or why there has been an argument, or why this has been happening, or what you have read that may have set off a couple of alarms that I can try and hopefully clear through the mist a little bit for you guys, I'll definitely do it. So requests are always welcome, as long as it's nothing too crazy. If it has to do with anything that's completely out there, or if it's like some type of you know, I'm like on the borderline of when it comes to like conspiracy theories and stuff like that, but if it gets too out there, I just mentally won't be able to do it. Thank you once again for watching and or listening, and I will talk to you all soon. See you.